We have no puppet?
For God's sakes.
No, I'm in charge. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Public Safety Committee meeting agenda for June 17th, 2024, 5:30. Ask for approval of minutes, the meeting minutes from May 20th, 2024.
Move to approve?
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next portion of the meeting is open to the public. Does anybody from the public want to speak? Seeing none, we'll move right into department updates. Fire?
All right, well, thank you. I'll do my best to be brief. You do have our report. So in addition to the report, a couple things I'd like to mention. We were very busy last month with a lot of extracurricular activity to support recruitment. Between the BAPS Charity Walk, we had a recruitment open house at the training ground behind Station 2. We also found time to support the Minneapolis officers' funeral procession with flags over the bridges in town. I want to mention that at this point this year, our calls are 10% higher than last year. I looked at it across the board. It's just nothing's really jumping out, although we're seeing a little decrease in 91 calls, but we'll keep an eye on that. And the other thing I wanted to mention, we talked, I believe it's last meeting, and during the budget process about future purchases for the fire department. And actually, I think, Bill, you might have brought it up. We were talking about a self-contained breathing apparatus fill station. We had at one point, we had a handshake deal with a local municipality for a used one that was in real good shape. We reviewed all of the maintenance records. It really fell into what we needed to be. And we had agreed on $20,000 as the purchase price. They were originally asking $25,000. After a couple days, we received an email that said, sale's been canceled. We're going to put it on govdeals.com onto one of the bidding sites. Well, I'm happy to report that we won the bid at 75% less than the original purchase price.
It's a harsh lesson there somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, we picked that up for $5,000. Wow. Yeah, it really worked out. And I got to tell you, the temper was a little up when I got that email canceling the sale, but once the auction was over, I'm kind of down. So that's it for fire. I stand ready for any questions.
Chief, nothing further. I mean, you talked about calls for service in general being up across the board. By types of call, nothing stands out, or what? Any thoughts into what might be driving that?
The one thing that does stand out a little bit, and it's more along the lines of how we're recording calls versus the amount of calls, is false fire alarms. We're recording food on the stove calls as false fire alarms. If there's extension, if there's damage, then it goes into the fire category. But it's just, meat thermometer by smoke detector, then it's going into the false alarm categories. That's up a little higher, but really nothing that's ticking way up, Bill, across the board. Actually, in the, I believe it'll be page 2 on our executive summary, you can see last year's compared to this year's, and kind of on target for all of them.
So the increase you're talking about, is that year-to-date or just the last couple of months?
This would be year-to-date, 2024.
It's not just statistical noise for a month or two. Okay. I don't know what to make of that.
So it's all about the same. We'll keep an eye on it. We'll keep on reporting back to it where it's going. I just think the town's getting busier, getting bigger and busier.
Right.
True.
So I just think it's a normal progression for our calls.
All right, I
Okay.
approve, thanks.
Thanks for doing all the recruitment drives, appreciate that. Hopefully, they'll be working in the future, I hope.
We just put on 2.
Good.
We received a call Friday afternoon with 2 more looking to apply. One is a past member who comes through fully certified, which is great. And we'll see how this works out.
Fantastic.
We're keeping up with attrition.
Yep.
As lives get busier, something's got to give in somebody's life. As our younger crew gets a little older, has kids, or even tries to find the house in town, it's
Yeah,
difficult.
true.
So, we look at all of that.
Good. Thanks. I noticed you had one injury. Is the firefighter okay?
He, this might be a long-term injury. He slipped and fell. We were coming back from a call on a very wet day, and he just slipped. It's a shoulder injury. I know he's going in for an MRI soon, and we'll find out from there.
Good. Good.
Okay, so he's still out.
I'm sure you guys are giving plenty of support.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you. I think that's it. We move on to emergency management.
Okay, what I'd like to report from emergency management, we talked a little about it earlier, was last week we had an epi drill, the emergency preparedness drill, and it's a statewide drill through the Department of Emergency Management, and pushed by the governor. And we had about 16 town directors or town employees in a room working as the state gave us injects for 3 hours. Actually, Deputy Chief Gentili in the back was our moderator that day, did a great job. This year's theme, last year it was a railroad incident with hazardous material. This year they were testing our preparedness for the upcoming election in November. And they tested election preparedness, cyber security, civil disturbance, fire, hazmat, and just a myriad of other incidents in those 3 hours. As you can imagine, the after-action report is quite long, and we're still working on it. I'd like to report that back to you in the future. We learned a lot. We found a bunch of areas in which we can improve, and we're going to start working on those.
What type of drills were in it regarding?
Oh, so we had, originally there was a cyber threat. I believe they were holding the town's election process for ransom. And we moved into some election day disturbance. Then a remote ballot box was burned, so that was the fire aspect. Then as some of our employees were opening absentee ballots, white powder fell out, so there's the hazmat section. There was civil disturbance. There was people rushing the polling places. There was quite a bit of work for the police department there.
Drones too.
Oh, yeah, we had drones spying and harassing people coming in to vote. And they had some diabolical people planning this.
Say so.
And it was one of those, it'd be very difficult to, line for line, come up with a plan for each little thing, But we're working on, if going into it, I wouldn't have imagined drones were out there harassing, and it was good to have the police in there because as the state's given us the injects and the points of discussion, the police chief's telling me he's doing nothing illegal. That's proper. Well, that might not be, and we were able to work it from there. So definitely more to follow on that. You got anything to add on that one?
That was a good coordinated effort between all of our different divisions and departments collectively. No one department got more than the other. It was, even within the injects, there was multiple departments answering questions for each of the separate injects, which kind of put us all back on. For us, we just refer to a lot of our policies that are already in place, and some of it's just experience and knowledge, but it was a good exercise.
Good, that's great.
Okay, and just one last thing under emergency management, and this has been forecasted for the last week. We're obviously in the beginning of a 5-day heat wave. So after talking to the town manager earlier today, and in response to the state advisories, excuse me, we're going to make cooling centers available if needed. They'll be at the community center and at the library. A press release will be going out tomorrow, and we will be posting it, and it'll be on the signs, etc., with the locations and the times. I talked to Eversource earlier today. They're not worried about brownouts or power issues at this point. So we have a heat wave, but we don't have any of the other factors that would really make us a little nervous on this one.
Great. Questions?
Thanks for the report.
All right, thank you.
Ambulance, we'll move on to.
All right. For the month of May, we had 136 calls, which puts our total up to 602. The top 5 calls that we've been having is falls, shortness of breath, abdominal pains. We're still doing a lot of lift assists in the area. This last month was a big month for cardiac arrests. The volunteers themselves did 8 cardiac arrests. We had actually 2 people that were actually saved, 2 cardiac saves, where the people were able to leave the hospital and go to rehab and from there. So those are 2 wins at that point. We had 2 opiate calls. Again, we received a new ambulance. We're waiting for the radios to be outfitted. They're ordering parts for the radios for the new ambulance. Again, that'll be, once it gets inspected by the state, it should be up and running. We had a training meeting for the month with documentation and practical skills, a total of 62 hours of the volunteer services. We had a bunch of outside training for our community CPR with some of the local daycares and facilities that requested us to come out. And we also stopped the bleed with this, same with the CPR. Our members are 42 members actively riding. We have 6 probationary members. We have 4 associates. We have 1 that's still out on medical leave. And we're in the process and the paperwork of having 1 new member that's coming on board. At the moment, they're waiting for their state number to come through the state. So, which I think came in on Friday, if I wasn't mistaken. So I think she's just got a little bit more time to ride until she feels comfortable, and she'll be running full. She works for a commercial service already, so
Good.
so has done enough. Other than that, I'm all set with that. I'm sure you guys have other questions about other things that you want to ask me about. So
You had 8 cardiac calls?
yeah.
Is that on high?
That's extremely high. We for the month, and that's not counting what they Aetna had done during the day. But we had actually in the time frame, obviously from weekdays from 6 o'clock at night till 6 in the morning, and then actually on the weekends. But the volunteers were on 8 of them. We had 3. The weekend before, we had 3 within an hour and a half of each other. So it's been a very busy month for that, and it's nothing suspicious. It was, there were elderly people that it just happened to all fall on the same day, but it just, but.
No questions. Thanks, Brian.
Yep, you're welcome.
Question, what do you consider an associate for your membership?
We have people that do the computer, back of the, behind the scenes.
Okay.
Used to ride. And now they want to stay part of the association, but they do the computer work.
Yep.
They do training. There's a couple different, one, we have buildings and grounds guy that comes in and vacuums, empty the garbage, and make sure that
Okay.
the bay's clean, make sure that the garage doors are closed for Mike,
Good.
But other than that, I mean, it's just, we try to, so they just want to keep their hand in it,
Yep.
and not actually ride.
Okay. Good.
Ryan, do you want to mention the elections?
Oh, that's right, I'm sorry. As of July 1st, we'll have a new ambulance chief. My term has ended, will be ending on July 1st. The new chief is here, Mary Ellen McGovern. She comes with over 10 years of riding here. Every Sunday, without a doubt, she's here. She also does commercial EMS, so she's had plenty of experience in the field, so she's going to be the new person you're going to have to deal with after July. Welcome.
Thank you for your service as well.
Thank you.
Many years. Thank you so much for that.
Brian, will you still be in the leadership chain just down a step or two, or what's your status going to be going forward?
I'm torn right now. I will be there for her for whatever she needs. Trust me, she's going to be having questions for a while, and stuff that she might not be, that was done in the background of the association in the past. So I have no, I'm open to that. There's going to be a good transition. Me, myself, I've been here 41 years. I'm thinking I'm at like an 80-20 whether I ride or not, I rode over almost 2,200 hours this year to keep the ambulance online, make sure that the people, that the citizens had EMS coverage. So, I'm tired. I mean,
Yep.
I work all day at the state today. I took time off to come to the meeting tonight, and then I go back to work until 11. I gotta be on volunteer duty tonight at midnight, and till 6 o'clock in the morning, and then I go back to work tomorrow for, you know what I mean? So, it's just tiresome. I'm getting tired, so.
You've earned your rest. Well,
I got one knee replacement, and the other one needs two, so it's just a matter of, starting to break down a little bit here.
well, thank you for your service. It's been a pleasure working with you. I've always appreciated your reports. You've always been,
I appreciate that.
tremendously, thorough and responsive. So it's been a pleasure. Good luck to you, whatever the future holds.
Thank you.
Thank you as well, and congratulations on our new soon-to-be chief. Thank you very much. I think we're good with the volunteers.
Other questions?
No?
Okay.
Edna?
Are you sure you don't want to stay, Brian? Right? Well, congratulations, though, in all honesty. That's 41 years is incredible.
My phone keeps ringing from Mary Ellen, please stay. So.
Please stay. Don't leave us. Don't leave us, but thank you for that. I don't know if this is the right place to do it. Goodrich and myself and actually Kim Ritchie have been talking about, and I think it would be like new business for you guys, but we want to recognize the PD, specifically the PD dispatchers. Potentially at next month's meeting, maybe, I don't know what the schedules all look like and how they line up, but we'd like to recognize them with more of a formal, with a plaque and kind of a ceremony type thing. So we can certainly table that for later, but I just wanted to at least bring it up and put it in as like a tickler for you guys to think about. So, because they did have the highest, or Rocky Hill has the highest bystander CPR rate within our coverage area and well exceeds the norm for both national and state. So, and part of that chain of survival starts with our, 911 call takers and dispatchers. So, without them, the cases that Bryant described, may not have happened. It's hard to speculate, but we definitely see a higher survival rate in Rocky Hill, and I think a lot of that is attributed to the great work that they're doing behind the scenes. And so, Aetna Ambulance and Rocky Hill EMS do want to take a chance to really formally recognize them. I think it'd be a nice gesture. So, for later, and then I can go on the report if that's okay with you, Councilor Whalen.
That's fine. Maybe town manager could put it on next agenda next month.
Absolutely.
Great.
Sounds good. Thanks. All right. Last month was probably our busiest month on record for a while. I'll have to go back and look, so don't ask me the question of, is it the busiest all time? But we did, it was a pretty busy month across the board. We had 321 responses with 228 transports. It brought us up to 1417 responses for the year and 954 transports. Our on-time performance was sitting right at 93% with an average response time of 6 minutes and 10 seconds. All of the cardiac arrests, for whatever reason, happened with the Rocky Hill Volunteer Ambulance on duty. And again, that is confirmed that we did have 2 people walk out of the hospital this last month with really good outcomes. We're very excited about that. Certainly we don't wish anybody, to go into cardiac arrest, but we do like to see the good outcomes happening from, again, starting from kind of the, it's everybody takes a village to kind of do those things. Opiate-related encounters, I think the month before I had said we saw like a little bit of a spike, but that leveled off. We only had 1 last month. I don't know, Brian, did you say you guys?
We had 2.
You had 2, so 3 altogether. I'd say it's fairly leveled off. Our top 5 reasons for responses were sick person, fall, difficulty breathing, chest pain, and unconscious. And 30% of all of our responses were trauma-related. Last couple of weeks, we were able to welcome in 9 EMTs and 2 paramedics to our system. We just had 3 people complete the paramedic precepting process and are now fully out on their own, which is exciting. We were also looking like we're at least got a higher class of 6 coming up here in 3 weeks, possibly up to as high of the higher class of 10. So that is my executive summary for now, and I stand ready for questions.
Thanks, Dave. Just can you elaborate a little bit more? You talked about the role of dispatch in a couple of, exceptional outcomes on cardiac events. Can you kind of connect the dots for us? Like, the call comes in, and what's the connection between, an exceptional response by the dispatcher, the person who takes the call, and the outcome?
Yeah, so the first part of any 911 call is kind of the interrogation process and understanding like what is actually happening on scene. So the 911 dispatcher will say, 911, what's your emergency? I think we're all fairly familiar with that. And then they have to follow, I don't know which exact protocols they use here in Rocky Hill, but they follow what's called emergency medical dispatch protocols. And through that interrogation process, it leads them to, by asking good questions, it gets them to the kind of the root of, hey, this person's unconscious. Do they have a pulse? And if they don't have a pulse, okay, here's some instructions. Are you willing to do, CPR? And is there an AED accessible? And that starts that bystander CPR, and it really reduces the amount of time that somebody would go without having, their heart beating for them. Because without CPR, there's no blood circulating, so their brain's not perfusing, and that time is really makes a huge difference. So by having that early intervention and having that kind of that inquiry, and whether it's just asking like another question saying, oh yeah, I think they're breathing, but well, is it effective breathing? And then, because sometimes people can be in cardiac arrest and still kind of breathing. It's called agonal, where it sounds like they're gasping, but it's not effective breathing. And at that point, they will say, okay, are you sure you don't have a pulse? If you're not sure, let's go ahead and start CPR and get that going, because it's better to, for the public, if you're ever not sure, and when in doubt, it's okay to do compressions. Yeah, okay, maybe you hurt them, but if they really truly didn't have a pulse, they need that to start their heart back up to have a good outcome. I know that's kind of, there's a lot of layers to that answer, so.
No, that was very informative. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't have any questions. Thanks for your service.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Police Department?
Good evening. I'll just pick up where we left off. We've been talking about this for some time, about the quality of our dispatch response to these cardiac arrests. And a lot of it is, when you mentioned the system where it's asking predetermined questions that lead you places, but it's also the intuition to know when something's wrong and what we call shunting, meaning you're moving on to another page or another methodology. But a lot should be spoken about the quality of the dispatchers and how they're communicating with the individuals on the phone and reassuring them and being calm and being patient and understanding the stress of the moment. And I think a lot of that, and it's empirical, it's hard to be able to say for sure that's it, but it's just the data that's being reported back all leads to the fact that there's a clear connection to the quality and the service that's being provided by our dispatchers. So I thank you for bringing that forward. We've been talking about it for almost a year now, but I know David mentioned he wanted to kind of let the numbers kind of play out to see if there really was a pattern, and certainly there is. So to them, those watching at home and are in the office right now, we certainly recognize them for their work, and they are saving lives as much as our officers are out there doing as well. So I thank you for that. On the report, the executive summary kind of covers the majority of 2,448 calls, 31 criminal arrests, and 3 DUIs. Where we're really focusing our efforts right now is in our hiring and our recruitment efforts. We had some departures we've discussed previously at other meetings. I'm happy to say that we have two candidates, entry-level candidates, on target for the July Police Academy. The piece we're waiting for right now is their steroid test to be in and reported back to the Post Academy. It's just that's the only piece that's out of our control. And we reached out to Human Resources, and Dana, thank you for her help, to try to expedite that report from them. But targeting two for the July entry-level academy, and we have a certified applicant who's also completed his background, projecting to bring him on board around August. From there, we have two confirmed seats in the October Academy, either in New Britain and or Post. I don't know which one that is, but we are working on bringing in the next group of candidates to get those two positions filled for the October start date. So for us, that's a lot of work for our staff to do the recruitment effort, the background investigations, the interviews, and then not only that, be prepared for the field training that comes along with cycling these folks through. But I'm happy to say we're making a dent, and I'd like to be able to say we have a higher date and get them there, but we're approaching that pretty quickly, and I'm hoping by the next meeting I have an update that we've confirmed their hiring and they've started the academy, so that's some good news there. There was no major case investigations on the normal updates, but we did have a car stolen out of Whitewood Drive. Later, just closer to the time of the report was submitted. I'm happy to say that car, the stolen vehicle, was recovered, and our detectives responded down to New Haven where they processed that car for evidence, so more to follow on that. But that typical response is a detective going out, looking for fingerprints, particularly genetic DNA evidence with swabs on the handles, the rear view mirrors, et cetera. So hopefully we have some, we'll see what the results come from there. We have a ton of community service events this year, which I wasn't able to put everything into the report. But I mentioned Sergeant Foss-Rugen's involvement with the Cadet Academy, which is I stopped down to take a look at this. I've heard a lot about it, but 500-plus kids in these cadet programs from across the Northeast came to participate in Stations Day, and it all rests on Sergeant Foss-Rugen's back as coordinating all these different cadet groups from throughout the country, the Northeast predominantly. Did a great job. Something else that we've kind of started back again with this year, what I'm pretty proud to say, is that we're doing talks at the high school right around the prom time about making good choices, particularly when it comes with drinking and driving and drugs, and the feedback from that's been very positive. We mentioned the Tip a Cop Special Olympics. It was held at the Wooden Tap Restaurant, and we also participated in the Torch Run. We had 14 members report out to the funeral services for Trooper Pelletier, which I thought was an astounding response from our agency and a show of support for that loss. And many, many others. I don't want to focus either. There's a ton of great things going on as far as our involvement within the community. But other than that, I mean, our goal right now, like I mentioned, is the hiring. And we're working with Lieutenant Morgan to do some creative ideas and things to get our brand out there. To include billboards, to include radio ads, television ads. We're kind of exploring the costs, the cost analysis of whether or not it's worth doing it. But we're finding there's some affordable ways to do something different than many of our other partners around us, and get our brand out there and try to recruit the best and best possible by putting out, who we are, what we're about, and benefits we offer. And I know that the contract was moved to another meeting, but with the next contract coming, I'm sure that's only better news for us as well to go out and recruit. So I thank you for your support there.
Chief, I have three completely unrelated items. First, can you give us an injury update on the two officers who were injured, I believe, at Quarry Park last month?
Sure.
Yeah.
We have one officer who, what you're asking about is the ATV accident.
Yeah.
We were performing routine patrols down at the Quarry Park to provide some extra patrol down there. And what happened was we actually performed an internal review, and on the initial look, it's not complete yet, but on the initial look, we have the body cams are not always active, but they're all passively recording. So we're going to verify that the speed was normal and reasonable. Less than 10 to 9 miles an hour per the video. But what happened was that in that patrol, since the growth started coming up, there is a tree stump about 12 inches in circumference that we just couldn't see the growth that was there, and that ended up being the catapult, the vault to roll the machine over. Fortunately, the operator was seen and treated at the hospital, returned a day later with some bruising to an arm, but no long-term issues, and the second officer sustained some injuries to his upper body. He's still out on workers' comp waiting for his next follow-up.
I hope he progresses well. A second question is with respect to the new officers entering the academy. What's the lag time between starting the academy and actually being deployed as an officer?
So from the start of the academy to the completion of that is 21 weeks. On top of that, we have another 19 mandatory weeks of field training. I might be off by a week or two. So you've got the 19, 21, 22 at post, and another 19 with us here internally. So from start to finish, we're looking almost at about 14 to 16 months to get an officer in the academy and on the road through field training.
Okay, thank you. And my third completely unrelated question is, am I reading this chart correctly on catalytic converter thefts that we have had none so far this year? Are those all zeros I'm looking at, or am I misunderstanding the chart? It has the 4-year lines,
So there,
dots on it, and so it's a little confusing.
So the way our stats are run, we do have a code that it's hard to track necessarily specific types of individual crimes, but when catalytic converters were kind of predominant, we were doing that. What I can say is after the governor, there's some legislation that's changed the way for you to scrap the metal.
Right.
It's really put a dent in that. So I trust my numbers. I'll confirm them again with Lieutenant Gutzel. It does them for me, but I have not heard of a catalytic converter stolen in some time. Thefts from motor vehicles, material goods within them, but the days of the catalytic converters, at least for Rocky Hill, we've been very blessed and fortunate. Even if this chart is wrong, I'll confirm it for you for next time. The numbers are very low. It's something we hear almost on a weekly basis to not something we're talking about anymore.
Right. Yeah, and I hope the chart is correct.
I hope so.
It looks like 5 dots, one per month for January through May, all on the zero, so that would be great.
I'll double check it, but I tell you, there's a normal basis. That was a regular conversation.
Right,
not
sure
again,
was.
And we've been pretty blessed.
That's great. Okay, thank you for the report.
Thank you for all your recruitment. That's great to hear that, staffing is going to be increased in a short period of
Yeah.
time. That's awesome. Thank you. Little follow-up on, we had those nighttime burglaries that we were talking about last meeting. And did you guys connect anybody, other agencies were arresting individuals? Did we connect them to ours?
The commercial smashing
Commercials,
grabs?
yes.
So you may recall the last meeting, we had Detective Lehane in and
Correct.
discussing his relationship and coordination with the task force. He is the case officer for those cases, and he does have identities for the individuals related to the golden opportunities and has to link them together to the Exxon burglary as well. They seem to be the same crew. He's just putting those pieces together through the information developed from the task force. So we do believe we know who they are and working to develop the warrants for them.
Great. And anything on the Colby Road shooting?
Again, Detective Lehane is the case officer there. At last update, the seized weapon that we seized was sent to the lab for results to confirm that it could be considered a real firearm, and that's his case. Where we're at with the staffing levels having been affected by some attrition, our detectives are currently filling in a 30 to 28-day rotation on patrol. So right now, Detective Lehane is covering the road, filling in, and doing a great job for us. But some of that casework has to fall behind just temporarily. But it's I would expect that next month or two we should be at the rounding the corner on those two investigations for you.
Good. Does he do any follow-up on that? He can't do it during patrol time?
Generally, I mean, it's report writing at this point, and I don't know the entirety of the leads on his cases, but I mean, I'm satisfied with every opportunity he has. He's working on the cases, but on a routine patrol day, to dig into a 7, 8, 9-page warrant, it's not something you're going to be able to do inside your vehicle versus putting everything on your desk and getting it done. So some lag time because of what we've done to make sure our staffing levels on the road are adequate, but I'm hoping to have a better update for you next time. I'll make a point to come back with a timeline for you.
No, thank you for using your resources and the way you are to cover our town
Yeah.
without an overtime rate as well. So.
Yeah, it's not, this time of year is challenging for the end of the fiscal year for us, with folks burning off the last bit of their time before the calendar turns over. So it's been challenging, but I do appreciate the administrative staff who stepped up and filled in. And like I mentioned before, with some of these outside-the-box ideas and concepts to try to bring some more folks in, I'm hoping to get ahead of that and have constant lists going at all times, so that if we have a departure or retirement, we can try to fill them as fast as possible with a blend of the entries and the certifieds. It's kind of a shell game of, puzzle game, I should say, of making sure we kind of get what we need now, but also look to the future as well.
Perfect. Thank you very much for all that info. We'll turn to the Health District. Charlie online.
He was having internet issues.
Okay, just to have one more thing while we're waiting for Charlie.
Sure.
There will be a notice for the public. Sometime on Wednesday, you'll be seeing a Atlas One in code red called out on our Facebook announcements for no parking ban on the Main Street corridor during the Travelers Championship. So with that traffic plan, I want to make sure there's nothing obstructing cars coming and going for the duration. So it'll be like Wednesday midday through late afternoon Sunday. But you should see that coming out on Facebook and probably our Atlas One app as well.
Perfect.
Thank you, sir, about that.
Thank you for the update.
Apparently, Charlie logged off,
Okay.
so
Okay, we'll move on. Old business, anything to discuss? Town manager, do we have anything?
no.
Okay. New business, we have discussion possible action, Rocky Hill Volunteer Ambulance Association and Aetna reimbursement and bundle billing contract, MOU, and coordination agreement.
At the last week's special finance committee meeting, this issue was discussed, and there were several questions were raised at that meeting regarding some additional activities potentially for the ambulance doing Friday shifts, as well as discussion about utilizing Aetna, Rocky Hill vehicles as opposed to Aetna vehicles. And there was some discussion on the cost of the contract, and the Finance Committee voted to refer this to the Public Safety Committee, as well as the Town Council. So this is also on the Town Council's agenda for detailed discussion.
I think just have a little discussion. I think that we should just move this forward to the Town Council for full disclosure to all the council members.
Okay, agreed, no need to do it twice.
Okay. Agreed?
Okay. Do we need a motion for that, or we'll just,
Yeah. No.
you want to make one, Bill?
Is the motion to simply table this, or what, is it on, it's on the town council agenda already, right?
Yeah, just move to forward it, or it's already moved, but forward for discussion to the Town Council, the regular meeting of the Town Council.
Okay, so with respect to item 6A, new business on today's agenda, I move to forward that discussion to the full council for discussion and possible action there at that level.
I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. We'll discuss that later tonight. Any other business that we have?
Not that I know of, unless somebody else has any questions or additions.
Move to adjourn.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.